Hey guys, it's Chris. Do you really swallow spiders in your sleep? Can you get warts from touching frogs? Listen closely and I'll tell you about 10 things you shouldn't believe about animals. Number 10. Earwigs lay eggs in people's ears. Many people believe that earwigs burrow into your ear canal for a safe, warm place to lay their eggs. But guess what? They don't. Like many other superstitions, it's hard to determine exactly how or why this one got started. The Columbia Encyclopedia speculates that the earwig's nocturnal habits may have something to do with the origin of this old wives' tale. Or perhaps that their abdominal secretions, which have kind of a waxy odor, may partially be to blame. At the end of the day, though, nobody knows for certain the circumstances surrounding the formation of this belief, or even why the earwig is called earwig. Pliny the Elder's Naturalis Historia, which was written during the 1st century AD, contained the first known mention of an earwig. The text even suggested remedies for handling an invasive earwig. Over the next several hundred years, similar references were made in various other texts. One of the reasons this myth perpetuates is because every now and again, an earwig happens to make its way into someone's ear, just like any other insect. However, there's no scientific evidence pointing towards the human ear as a favored place for the creepy insects to lay eggs. And as it turns out, earwigs are harmless. Number 9. Everyone eats spiders in their sleep. Chances are you've heard some version of this all-too-common tale, which generally goes like this. On average, a person eats X amount of spiders in their sleep. Every now and then, while you're warm and cozy in bed, snoozing away with your mouth open, a nearby spider decides to crawl right in. Somehow, you end up swallowing it in your sleep. Well, I have some good news, especially for those of you who have a deadly fear of spiders. This isn't realistic, and for the most part, it's just not true. Is it impossible to eat a spider in your sleep? Well, technically no. It could happen, but it's super unlikely. A spider probably isn't going to see a reason to climb into your mouth, and I don't blame them. I mean, who wants to get eaten alive by a sleeping giant? If you try telling someone that this spider-eating myth is just that, a myth, there's a good chance that they'll need more convincing, since people tend to mistakenly associate a myth's popularity with its credibility. Robert Crawford, an arachnid curator at Seattle's Burke Museum of Natural History and Culture, is no stranger to explaining to people why it isn't true. Spiders have no interest in people or in beds because neither typically host the type of prey they're after. They're probably even scared of the movements of a sleeping human. If something thousands of times your size is snoring, tossing, and turning, would you go near it? According to Crawford, spiders perceive vibrations and other movements as warning signs of danger. In the event that a spider does get anywhere near a person's face or mouth, the sensation of it crawling around would probably wake them up before it could be ingested and swallowed. Number 8. Lemmings commit suicide. Sometime during the 1530s, a geographer proposed that lemmings fell from the sky during storms. That was just the beginning of this long-standing and legendary myth that the critters commit suicide en masse when they migrate. The rumor became even more popular in 1958 when Disney released an Academy Award-winning nature documentary called White Wilderness, which featured horrific footage of lemmings hurling themselves off cliffs. But these scenes were actually staged by the filmmakers, who threw the lemmings off the cliffs to imitate real-life behavior that they were unable to capture otherwise. The lemmings population tends also to contribute to the myth that they commit suicide. They migrate in large groups, and as a result, the lemming population drops to near extinction every 3 to 4 years, only to eventually spike again. It's also not unheard of for lemmings to jump off unfamiliar cliffs and into the water while they're migrating, and if the journey is arduous enough, it can result in exhaustion or death. But they do not commit suicide. Number 7. Toads can give you warts. Warts are caused by the human papillomavirus, or HPV, a virus that is not carried by toads, thereby making it impossible for humans to contract warts by touching a toad. The bumps that some toads have are special glands that produce defensive toxins to deter predators. This means that you still probably shouldn't touch one, but you also won't grow warts if you do. Number 6. If you touch a baby bird, its mom will reject it. There is an upside to this myth. It keeps people, especially children, from disturbing wildlife that is best left untouched and admired from a distance. According to legend, if a person touches a baby bird, their scent rubs off on it, and its mother will reject it when she detects the unfamiliar aroma. Birds don't have a keen sense of smell, though, and like most animals, they will not abandon their beloved offspring over a strange or even bad odor. Having their nest disturbed will cause a bird to flee, however, so it's best to back away slowly if you happen upon one. When it comes to birds and most other animals, the default rule is not to touch. Even if you see a baby bird on the ground, you should leave it alone. Its mother is probably nearby and may even be waiting for you to go away so she can retrieve her hatchling. If you are ever seriously concerned about the welfare of a wild animal and don't feel right leaving it where you found it without making sure it's going to be okay, you still shouldn't touch it. Instead, call your local environmental authority. They'll know what to do. Number 5. Camels store water in their humps. While it's true that camels can go 7 days without drinking water, it's not true that they store water in their humps. Thanks mostly to their oval-shaped red blood cells as opposed to the circular red blood cells most other animals have, camels are able to avoid fatal dehydration far longer than most animals can. Their humps don't contain water, but they do provide a major advantage. Camels' humps are mostly composed of fat and store the same amount of energy as about 3 weeks' worth of food. A camel's kidneys and intestines can be credited with their amazing ability to retain water. These organs are so efficient, a camel's urine has the consistency of a thick syrup. Gross. Number 4. An old dog can't learn new tricks. Many people believe that there's a narrow window of time during which a dog can be trained, usually while they're still a puppy. Regardless of their age or their level of stubbornness, however, most dogs can in fact pick up on new commands within 15 minutes of training daily for 2 weeks. The saying that you can't teach an old dog new tricks is more accurately reflected among humans who sometimes tend to become set in their ways and simply refuse to learn new things. So the moral of the story? Don't let this myth deter you from adopting an adult or senior dog, and if you're running into some hurdles with training your puppy or dog, try to have some patience. Chances are they'll get the hang of things eventually. Number 3. Bees die after stinging someone once. Now this is true, but only for honeybees. A honeybee's large stinger, which contains backward-facing barbs, gets lodged in its prey and can't be pulled out without causing a fatally ruptured abdomen. In other words, a honeybee faces an almost certain fate of being disemboweled when it stings a human or any other mammal with a thick skin. On the other hand, several species are capable of stinging multiple times, including carpenter bees, bumblebees, and wasps. Number 2. Certain red food dyes contain bugs. Have you ever been sipping on a strawberry frappuccino from Starbucks only to be cautioned by someone nearby about how your refreshing beverage was dyed using the smushed up corpses of thousands of bugs? Oh, I have. Before these naysayers get too excited, however, they should probably do some fact-checking. While this was once the case, Starbucks stopped using dyes with bugs in it in April of 2012. Before then, however, the coffee giant did in fact color their strawberry frappuccinos using red dye or caramine color, which is made from ground-up insects. The bugs that are used for this dye are called cochineal bugs and are harvested and pulverized by farmers in Central and South America to create a deep red ink. Although Starbucks no longer uses caramine color, it continues to be a popular dye for thousands of food and cosmetic products, including Nerds and lipstick. Number 1. Goldfish have a 3-second memory. It's rumored that goldfish have an incredibly short-term memory, lasting around 3 seconds at most. But science has proved otherwise by a long shot. Goldfish are actually able to remember things for up to 5 months, and this was proven by 2 different studies. In one of the studies, goldfish learned that by pressing a lever in their tank at a certain time each day, they'd receive food. During the next study, fish were taught to associate a certain sound with the receipt of food. An astounding 5 months after the study ended and the fish had been released back into the wild, they were tested with the sound and they responded to it. Now, this newfound knowledge has the potential to be used for less than honorable purposes. Fish farmers who are looking to save on the costs associated with raising goldfish could possibly develop a way to train them to respond to sound, release them into the wild, and call them back during harvest time. The next time somebody warns you about an animal or shares their expertise with you, remember, always check your sources. What did you think of today's video? Leave your thoughts in the comments and make sure you subscribe to World List. And I'll see you next time.